And welcome everyone to Protected Trust Live. I am Stephen Goodman. Joining me today is CTO of Protected Trust, Chris Bridges. Today,
hey little Bill.
Hey, I should probably wait for you to say hey.
You probably should.
I haven't learned etiquette as a host yet.
Oh, that's okay.
But today we are going to be going over the pillars, specifically the third pillar of replace your file server, working together, and the title of this video is sharing versus emailing. And when we say that, we mean that Office 365 gives you a different option than to just attach an email, or no, to attach a document to an email. With the, I don't want to say the power of OneDrive, but really with the power of OneDrive, you can do something called sharing.
Right.
And sharing is, well, I guess we'll get to that a little bit later, but you want to talk a little bit about how...
Yeah, I thought I would just show some stories about how internally how our company has moved past email, and we're moving on beyond just the traditional email. So we've been specialized in Exchange for a long time. We've been doing email for almost 20 years now.
Yeah, people have known us as the email company.
Right. I mean, it's back in the late 90s when it all got going. The best decade ever.
The best decade.
You would just send an email through your old Outlook Express and then just hope it made it where it went, and your attachment was just out there sitting in someone's inbox. And as we move into Exchange and we got further down the road with Exchange 2010 and 2016, it gave you a lot more control over email. But ultimately, it's still kind of the wild west of especially file attachments. And when you deal with a company of any size, it can get really a cluster. And so what Protected Trust has really done is we're starting to embrace the sharing aspect of it. And I'll talk a little bit more about some other scenarios in client size. But what we have really embraced is trying to share files and work and collaborate on documents and not just emailing them around. And we're doing that through, like you said, through OneDrive, how it connects in and share a file where it just sends a link, and you set permissions on the file and you can just deal with it on whoever you're collaborating with, and then, or also Microsoft Teams. And that's the one that we've really started to embrace. And instead of sending notes around and keeping track of email threads where you lose messages or accidentally delete one, everything is in Teams.
Yeah, Teams like consolidates it all into one thing. So it really can't be explained, I guess, in one live stream.
Right.
In a past live stream, I just showed like how to create one team.
Right.
And that took the entire live stream.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to transform our internal communications through Teams. So most of the support team, or all the support team, and through the IT group here at Protected Trust, they communicate a lot via Teams, and it's really neat because you just don't have to send emails around. And but still, a lot of people use email. It's very functional, and you still have a lot of folks that you email outside of your office, of course. And so it's a very powerful tool. But the sharing piece of it, especially, I've grown to adopt it now, and through many different through different avenues and some falling down. But it's really great to where I can just now share a document, send it around, or pictures, or whatever, and then not have to worry about it. And I always know where to go find it too, so I don't have to go search through my inbox and have 10,000 emails in there, and it just gets lost in all kinds of stuff.
So I guess the major question that people watching would have is, well, why would you share instead of attaching an email or attaching a document?
There's some real technical aspects to email, especially with document sizes. I mean, if you're talking about a document, a Word document, that's no biggie. But a lot of people share. It depends on your business. A lot of people want to share images, and they can't just send a bunch of. I mean, these cameras nowadays shoot up really high resolution images, so you can't attach them to an email. Traditional email servers, I mean, though the attachment size has grown exponentially over the years, it's still a pretty small amount of data. So, using the power of OneDrive, you can take and share these documents out and then not have them clog up your inbox, or your mailbox, I should say, because still most Exchange administrators, and even in Office 365, there is a limit. And so it becomes it kind of cascades on each other. Whenever I'm sending 10 pictures around and someone forwards 10 pictures around, and they forward it to 10, and now you've just got data piled upon data, and it's not a real solid collection of where all these files are.
Right. So when we used to answer the phones, people would always say, can you boost up the size of my mailbox? And we'd say, but we literally just did. Like, what happened? It's like, well, I don't know. I'm just using it as I normally would. And then you go in, you find out that they have been emailing back and forth well, they couldn't be gigs, but megabytes add up.
Yeah.
And so you do that several times around, and the next thing you know, megabyte turns into a
Yeah,
gigabyte,
so
and then they filled up their
somebody
space.
sends you 10 pictures, you forward them on. Now they're in your sent items and your inbox.
Right.
And so now, even if you take that same group of people or two people, and they just take those same and they share them, and then they can all just be accessed through OneDrive. And so again, back to I keep going back to Teams, but it's the Teams just lays on top of that, and you don't even have to do the email piece of it, so you can kind of work together.
I'm actually surprised about how quickly you adopted Teams.
I love it.
Before you were
I'm
like,
a believer.
I'm not so sure about
I'm a
this.
believer. No, it's just it's a habit. So
It
for
makes you
me,
more productive.
Yeah, I mean, I've been using email for a long time and supporting it and dealing with it and every aspects of it, and I've just had to retrain myself into, if I want to contact you, I just go to Teams and I either do a private chat, or if I want to talk to you and one of the guys out there, I'll put both of you in there. Then I don't have to deal with this email thread going back and forth and that kind of stuff.
Right.
And that's what I like. I mean, there's multiple things I really love about it, but it's that's what's persuaded me. My goal, Stephen, of 2018 is to have no internal communication in my inbox.
Wow, really?
Yeah, that's what I'm done with email internally. So I'm still going to have vendors, I'm still going to have clients, I'm still going to have things like that, alerts maybe, stuff like that. But I don't want to have any email from you in my inbox.
Maybe in 2019, well, that's next year, but 2020, the goal should be to have external people communicate with you that way, because you can share with external users as well.
That's correct, and that's something we're doing right now. It's great. We're working on a project with a client of ours, and we actually have a document shared through Teams, and he is able to collaborate with us and see which users we've touched and went out to and helped, and then he can kind of go through and maybe give them a little push if we can't reach them. So it's moving away, and that would be impossible to do with email. So I can't. If we want to send a file, an Excel file, and he'd update it, put some columns on it, send it back. It's very 90ish.
I think that brings us to another benefit of sharing, which is you could also revoke the access once you're done collaborating with that person.
That's right. Once it leaves your mail server, it's kind of out there. So it's sitting in someone else's inbox, and it can be someone can steal it very easily. Someone could copy it, modify it, forward it on. I mean, there's lots of different things. But with sharing, you can set permissions on it and then revoke access, and there's version control, as you know, and all kinds of different things. You can go back in time.
Right, yeah, exactly. So I guess on top of that, not only can you share the document, but you can also allow the person to edit the document with you.
Right.
And that would bring us to collaboration, which I don't really want to focus on with this live stream, but we will in a future one.
Right.
So those are just a few of the benefits that sharing has. But I think what's great about what the engineers at Microsoft did was they put the sharing button like everywhere.
Right. You can't escape it, can you?
So what I wanted to do today was have you show everyone, a couple of places where you could put share, or where you would use sharing. Starting with this Word document, this blank Word document that's very important that we need to share.
Right.
So there's a share button there, and the first thing it'll ask you to do if you don't have it saved already in OneDrive is to pick where you want it to save in OneDrive. And no, we don't have to go through the whole thing, but in fact, you may want to exit out.
Yeah. So what it does there is it basically...
It makes it foolproof.
Right.
So if you don't have it saved already in OneDrive, it'll prompt you to save it in OneDrive, and that way it's backed up already, and then you have your way to share it to whoever you want to, whether they're internal or whether they're external, like the person you're working with.
Right, and like OneDrive is, as you know, you've talked about, it's mapped. So you just really right-click on it, hit share, and then a notification email, not the document, gets sent to the to the recipient. And then once they see the notification message, they just open it up the document. Now it's shared via OneDrive. So even though that email was technically, I guess, sent, it didn't really contain the document itself. It's just a link back to the shared document.
Right, exactly. So very secure. So if that message was intercepted by a third party, all they got was a notification email.
Right.
They would still have to...
They had to have that person's office credentials to log in.
Right, and if they're using MFA, which hopefully everyone now who's watched this video has at least suggested to the higher-ups that they should be using MFA.
There's no access to it.
There's no access to it because they don't have that second layer verification. So that's the first way to use sharing. The second way to use sharing... Steve Cornell, support manager, we did a live stream a few live streams ago about how to map your primary folders to OneDrive. So if you save a document to your desktop, instead of dragging it to OneDrive, it's just automatically in OneDrive for you.
Sure.
So that's what I did on this tablet, or a tablet. Surface is a tablet and a computer. But let's go ahead and go to my desktop. And what we'll see is if we right-click on any one of these things, we'll see that we have the option to share. It's that blue cloud.
Gotcha.
So we click that and it would give us the same thing. Pick who you want to send it to,
Right.
which again sends a notification email. But what that notification email is really doing is telling that person, hey, you got something.
Okay. You got the message. You got some document shared with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
You got a document shared with you. Go check it out. And so from there, they can choose to either download it or edit it in real time,
Correct.
depending on what permissions they gave you. And so then the third option would be in classic Outlook. You would attach a document like you normally would. Let's take a look at that. So opening up a new email and clicking the message tab.
You don't have the drop down here, buddy.
Oh, just double click on options, it'll work. It'll save it there. There. All right. So go to I think message. Or no, maybe not.
Yeah, you're gonna want to share it through your other application.
Really?
Yeah. This is you want.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's under message. So you would let's say click on document 1, and so now you have two options.
Sure.
You could attach it the normal way if you
Right.
want to be a stick in the mug. you don't want to move on into the future.
Right. When you share the link.
Or you'd share the link, which all that does is basically make the email
Right.
that is automatically generated when you share it the other ways.
Correct. And it sends the link through.
Right. Or I guess the fourth way would be through if you're using the online version of Word.
Yeah, that's
or any of the other
right. That's a
Office
great.
programs.
It's a great tool as well. Is it allows you to use Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and just share those. And like you said, those share buttons are everywhere. So it's like when you sign into your 365 portal, you immediately can go in there and start sharing documents and seeing them.
Right.
Yeah. So any of these apps, so it makes it a lot. There's a lot of different things, mechanisms, a way to send a message around or a document or pictures around.
Right. So hopefully we've demonstrated how easy it is to just share. But I think like the major problem is getting everyone on board with it. Like you said, like your goal is to get everyone by the end of this year or by next year to.
Yeah, it's adoption. It's really like it's when it's kind of the unknown, right? So and you're not used to it, and
It's a new thing.
you got to kind of retrain your way. And I've caught myself many times like starting to send an email, and I'll stop and then say, wait a minute, I'm putting this in Teams or whatever, or like how I sent Ingram that email the one time, and he kind of asked me if we were travel time back to the 90s, because who sends attachments
it is the
anymore?
greatest decade.
Yeah, I know. It's by far the best. So I had to, even myself, and I had to kind of think about this and catch myself doing it. And once you're repetitive and you start thinking about it a little bit more, it really starts to become a way of just naturally progression into it. And then of course getting adoption throughout the rest of the company. So you go into our HR or somebody like that, and they just do it their way. But that's you kind of move around and start seeing the benefits of doing it the right way.
So I guess it's one thing to talk about our company. Have we deployed this to anyone else and seen as great a
Sure.
success rate as we have here?
Yeah, I think there's a couple that we're working with right now. We've seen a lot of adoption, and we're seeing a lot of people that just don't quite grasp the idea. And and it's a lot of problem solvers. I've had a couple instances where all these people wanted to do was share some pictures with each other, and I'm going back to my email analogy earlier, they couldn't do it because their administrator was telling them it was not possible, and I was like, you can do this, and I started showing them how we did it through OneDrive and sharing files, and then just was kind of taken back on it. So what our guys do is they go in, our project managers, and they'll go in and just kind of educate people. And I know you're training other classes or deep dives into how to do that specific task. But yeah, that's the first thing we do, and that's the part of the pillars here is to kind of reinvent the way that folks are using collaboration, especially with Office 365.
Yeah. So it's doing what they claim to do. It's making you more productive,
More secure.
more secure, and Sharing is caring. Sharing's better.
That definitely is.
And any final thoughts?
No, I just think that I think it's a new way, and like I said, my goal for 2018 is to get my inbox down to just my clients and vendors that we work with, and to start really embracing the new technologies that is being deployed through Microsoft 365.
And utilizing Teams.
In Teams and.
So
and
you may
everything.
be my guest for Teams. Then.
I may be. So if yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Steve.
And for everyone out there, if you are enjoying our content, please leave a like or click the subscribe button. That way you will get a reminder each time that we upload new videos or start a live stream. And thank you to our clients who make these live streams possible. Thanks, everyone.